Video, so it's gonna go up on YouTube. I
Great,
haven't
great.
ventured out into doing like actual like podcasts quite yet. I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
going to.
yeah. No, I get you.
but all right.
My water here.
Hey everybody, this is Ryan with Riggs of Death Metal. Today my guests are Ron with Loudstakk and Guilherme with Dieth, and
Yep.
previously of Entombed AD. What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
What's up?
Guys, I'm super excited to have both of you on here. Guillermo, I've been a fan since Entombed AD. And
Excellent.
I've really been digging everything Dieth has been putting out. And Ron, you have been supplying me with all kinds of awesome goodies for all my home recordings and demos. So yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's good to be back, man.
Well, first and foremost, Guillermo, I want you to kind of go over your experiences working with Satanic Audio and dialing in some of these killer tones because I'm thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, man. The experience there actually um, was very nice and simple because we've done the correct way to put it here to put it down would be like we've done a pre-production, very detailed between us three, me, Ron, and Halder from Satanic Audio. You know, so when we booked the trip to Warsaw to sit down in the studio and everything, we knew pretty much 100% of what we were gonna do. You know, we even I even spent some time dialing the guitars I was gonna use to capture the sound. Of course, you don't hear the sound of my guitars, but to dial the amps, I think it's optimal that you trust the sound of the guitar you're getting, the type of guitar you're using, and what you want to achieve with it. So you know, of course, if you get like an obscene example, if you get like a guitar with single coils and you compare this with a Les Paul with EMGs, they you know they are in opposite sides of the spectrum. So definitely we've done a selection of guitars there, of my Dean guitars and stuff. So some with EMG, some with the Fishman Fluence now, that it's the new thing of the active pickups, and I really dig it. So then we've lined up all this stuff and which cabinets we're going to use, which microphones we're going to use. So then me and Halder, we've made a list 1 week before I went to Warsaw. So we knew even where we were going to place the microphones, you know. So when we entered the studio, it was quite fast actually, because we really knew it. We were just tweaking to get the best sound and the best capture. And of course, I played guitar solos and riffs there for hours and hours and hours until we said like, okay, it's good enough, the quality of the sound, you know. And yeah, and I bring like a box of pedals. I had like a big box of pedals in Poland at our headquarters, and I had even some at MLC because I worked at MLC. I still do some collaboration with them from time to time. It's a tube amp company where I learned a lot about tube amps and about plugins and about digital stuff too, because to record and try a lot of things there, put videos out and do all the tryouts and try their plugins and back and forth files. I've trained a lot of my hearing for that, So a lot of what I hear, it's I practice at the MLC loud room. We call their live room. I call it the loud room. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And at MLC it's very cool because when they decided to do this room to try the amps was during the pandemic. I don't even know if we had the first vaccine, man. But I think it's when they've let us fly for the first time during that period, inside of Europe. So I really like that place in Gdansk because I carried even the carpet to start the room. We put a carpet there. Okay, let's dry the, let's make the sound here dry. So then I had a lot of my stuff there. So I bring this box of pedals to Warsaw, with and then I had all my Entombed stuff there from when I moved from Stockholm, because I left my pedals there for Marek to give some tryouts with the amps and do some maintenance on them, during that pandemic time. So I bring the stuff that I really use live and that I use live all over the world, So my HM2, my backup HM2, my iMaster pedal, they were all on my pedal board that were at MLC. So I got the original stuff to do the pack, which was great again, to turn all these things on, and especially after all this, it acquired another meaning after LG passed, of course.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to do this whole thing, So the preparation of everything took weeks, and the actual recording was some hours on it, of course, but it was a very, very cool, straightforward process, especially because Halder knows everything he's doing too. So it's very smooth, man. It's almost strange that you mentioned about a studio experience that goes so smooth,
Yeah, I know most people aren't as fortunate.
Yeah, no, I think I have had some rough times in studio, so this one was a relief, man.
Yeah. I know kind of whenever you're trying to dial in a pack like that, you're trying to dial in such a wide range of tones. It's almost like trying to put together like a toolbox. So it's kind of hard to pick a favorite, because the idea is that they're going to serve different purposes altogether. But if you had to just name a couple combinations of, like, amp pedal, cabinet, microphone kind of thing, which I did a demo, and I certainly found some favorites of mine. But were there any that just kind of absolutely just floored you, that stood out in your mind as like a really great combination of everything?
Yeah, I have few of them in mind, but if I would say spontaneously without opening the list here, the first thing that comes to my mind is the GB Mars Chandler, this impulse response. Man, it's killer, because sometimes, what's very interesting for the people that are watching this, sometimes when you're trying the guitar for yourself, you're here just playing the guitar for yourself and everything. It's you're not panning guitars or something, So once you're hearing the guitar by yourself, sometimes the sound works for one purpose. But once you are recording that you're going to pan guitars, you're going to add layers of guitars, and you're going to do like a proper record, at least, even if it's just a demo. But in my case here, man, and I was trained on this for almost 10 years by Nico from Entombed, because he was like, man, when you're going to send me a song, don't send me a riff. He said, like, I want a song. So that made me improve more and more and more on my demos to deliver the most complete idea, to tell the best story I could with the song. And then I realized that sometimes, man, some stuff that you throw in at the demos are the coolest takes that goes to the album, because you don't care much. You just play naturally. You don't want to nail the solo. And on this Dieth album, for example, I think the solo for Don't Get Mad, Get Even was the first take of the first demo, and I tried to reproduce that as best as I could in studio. Sounded more correct, sound better played, but didn't sound as cool as the demo, So talking about this, I say that this GB Chandler with the Dieth Rhythm 1 and 2, and with some combinations of the HM2, sounds like the Leffe and the Wolverine. I believe that if you use these combinations, the 4 combinations, everything with the GB Chandler, then you do the Dieth 1 or Dieth 2, depending on what we want to achieve, and the Wolverine and Leffe, I think you're gonna get something very special for you, especially if you pan these channels and then you use it as a complete mix. They stick out. They have presence. They have the right amount of mids, that I really think pops up in the mix.
Interesting. Okay. I definitely remember checking those out and being impressed with the tones. Um, I didn't get the demo I was doing was like a real quick. You can ask Ron. I think I messaged you in like an hour or two, and like, yeah, I already made a video. And, but like, yeah, I need to experiment more with them in an actual songwriting situation, like you're talking about, panning them, throwing in bass guitar, a drum kit, all that stuff. I'm definitely excited to mess with that. And all the impulse responses that had that Chandler microphone, the Greenback Marshall, and all of them, the Chandler mic that has not been on my radar. I don't know what they even cost. I'm afraid to look, but I'm afraid that's going to be like a dream mic now, because those IRs sound absolutely killer, like with everything I pair them with.
It's one of those funny things that Guilherme just mentioned, that just let the natural flow kind of take over, and that was one of the things that I find myself going back to the IR setup, is the Chandler. But when you combine that with the D112, which is a bass drum mic, so it's like a tube condenser, real high-end condenser, should not really work with a bass drum mic. And like, that's not the first thing you think of. But I think Mikola, who was the assistant engineer, like, he says it was his idea. I don't know whose it was, but if you throw that Chandler D112 combination on pretty much any of the cabs I wasn't there. I didn't fly to Poland. If you try any of those combinations, I think you're gonna really rethink, like, always the 257s or something, straightforward. That's definitely like a new. I mean, it could work. It might not work on paper when you first think of it, but that's the beauty of like sound engineering, because it's what you hear and what you feel is more important than like, well, there should be a bump in the 500 hertz here. It cannot work if you only focus on that. But if you really listen and try to fill it out, you might be positively surprised by some really weird combinations.
It's been pretty eye-opening trying to get into, like, I would refer to myself as like a hobbyist engineer, just trying to write out demos and crap at home. It's definitely been eye-opening, pairing these different IRs with different cabs, speakers, mics, everything else, and even blending them together in, like, I don't know, some kind of IR loader to where I can, actually do that.
Yeah.
It's almost like one of the standard go-tos is obviously like a 5150 V30 and then a 57,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Which if that's all you have to work with, and like you're just trying to do that and have it left and right, then it's pretty simple. It sounds good on its own, right? But if you're looking for something with a little bit more depth and variety to your tone, right? You're trying to go that next level.
Yeah.
That's when the blending, even stuff that doesn't quite work on its own and might even sound kind of crappy on its own, once it's paired with something else, all of a sudden the pieces fit together and it's just like, oh my God, this kicks the dog shit out of a 57 on the V30.
Yeah. And
yeah.
There's a reason why the V30 is probably the most used speaker in cabinets. It's kind of like the, I mean, it gets the job done, pays the bills.
Sure.
But if you don't really throw anything interesting or unique on top of it, you're gonna get nice and neat, but you might not get the mean and gritty kind of.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of this pack, because there's a Sun which I really like personally when I do the Entombed stuff or the Swedish. I typically tend to go with the sun cabs because it just has that weird sizzly, like almost like if the highs are not completely in phase, so they kind of cancel. There's some nice harmonic cancellation going on, and it just sounds evil or something.
I think I wrote down a combination. I don't know if I sent it to go to our website, but I'm quite sure probably it's there. That the Sun cabinets with one of the nums there, I just wrote like early Napalm Death scum because it's it's very rare to be able to sound like that nowadays because everything sounds so on point and great and modern, man, that it's like who's gonna sound like that? And then when I was playing, I said, okay, this is scum. So what was really interesting on this pack was to turn on the stuff and then spontaneous, like on the first chord, on the first note, I was okay. This is Napalm Death. This is early UK's death metal scene. This is this was very this was very funny experience too. I was thinking like, what's the first thing that comes up in my mind when I play this combination, for example?
Right. And it's kind of funny on some of our demos. I've gotten a comment or two that my productions almost sound like a little too modern or overproduced, and I'm like, oh, that's funny because I don't know what I'm doing. But I've noticed because we've done like some plugin demos like for other companies and stuff, and they sound phenomenal. But you can definitely tell they're in part geared a little bit more towards a modern kind of crowd. Something that was really refreshing for me on not just this pack, but Ron's the raw death metal pack. It kind of encapsulates a lot of the tones that I tend to favor, like especially like a lot of 90s records, like a lot of the classic seminal thrash and death metal records that I've loved since I was a teenager,
Yeah.
But
I think it's just like back in the 90s, like metal engineering was still in the learning phase. And once you get a guy who's still in the learning phase of his, I think I started recording 20 years ago, but still learning, two learners go together. Maybe that's because I don't have all the answers. I just, what I think I hear, and also when we kind of came into talks with Guilherme about doing this pack, and well, naturally you got to do your due diligence and kind of see like, is there an actual market for this type of thing? And I believe you were on tour with Christian as a guitar tech, and
yeah.
Once you got back, you just kind of mentioned that literally everyone that I talked to on this whole tour is like, technology is really nice, but it's like, why does it have to sound like this 2020, like the current? Like, can't we just take a little detour and go back in time, maybe 30 years, and try to redo that with this convenient technology that we have these days? And that's it's been my work mission life motto ever since I started Ugritone, and now trying to navigate the Loudstakk through this noisy audio world that just gets more and more competitive by the minute. But that's what I do best, and that's what I like doing.
Well, I think you've accomplished any of your mission statements that you might have set for yourself when trying to put out any of your digital products. Because even going back to like your True Cab and a lot of your other IRs, I remember the first time I loaded up True Cab and was messing with the More Sound IRs. And next thing I know, an hour's passed by because I'm just sitting there playing deicide riffs for like an hour straight.
Well, mission accomplished. I guess that's the only way to. somebody hears something like a demo on the website and they think this kind of sounds like Deicide, you know, mission complete. You know?
Absolutely. Well, so I haven't really probably should see if there's anything up on YouTube. I think we were talking about this a little bit, that there's not a whole lot of information out there with the NAMM plugin as far as just straight up how to do it. Is it a somewhat similar process as like I know, like, because I have a Kemper, and I know if you have like the DI or anything like that, you can basically capture a DI straight from an amp head and, you know, copy the soul of it right into the unit.
Yeah.
Is it remotely that simple with NAMM, or is it a little more complicated? Or
Well, if Kemper, I've never actually done a Kemper capture in my life because I've never had the $2,000 to buy the damn thing. But if Kemper has a signal that you could take the Guantanamo and torture the prisoners with by playing real loud, like it just sounds like madness. Like if you really want to torture somebody, then you play that. But yeah, if that's the thing with Kemper, then the NAMM isn't really too different. I can't talk about the science behind it because once that goes into once the signal is captured, then it gets taken into this Google Colab, which uses Python. Another thing I just know it's a Python code, and you instruct it how many epochs, or they're not Ewoks, but there's some other units that measure the sharpness of the image that you're trying to take. And then it takes 10 minutes, 60 minutes to kind of go through the signal. And once it's done, it poops out a .nam file, and then you insert it into your neural net modeler, and you hope that it sounds as close as possible to the rig that you just plugged in.
Okay. Hell yeah.
In simple terms.
How
you guys felt at Santa Studio after hearing the training thing for like 19 times real loud, or did you just like go away to save your ears?
No.
Sanity?
No, actually, it was very funny to hear that. I was like, man. So I think it was a very interesting process, and for me, man, it sounds like, I don't know, when you're watching these documentaries that they're approaching the magnetic field from Jupiter and you can hear it.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed doing that because I was like, man, it's the sounds of the universe. It's I entered on this trip, so I like to stay there and plug into this vibe, while we were training the profiles.
Yeah, where you don't really know if it's a Japanese noisecore classic from like the early 90s.
Yeah, it's something in this direction.
Yeah. But it's in a nutshell, in short, if I can do it, I didn't go to MIT or like Stanford or anything, and if I can kind of use it, anybody can,
Gotcha.
I actually did take 2 summer online courses at the MIT once, but so I went there.
Yeah. Got a printed out laminate hanging up that says that you want.
Already have it.
Yeah, but in a nutshell, I would like to bring this in a simpler way to the guitar players. That for me, the NAMM, it's like the impulse responses for guitar heads. It's the impulse response for guitar heads, because you have the IRs, and I was always thinking like, man, what would be the equivalent of an IR for a guitar head, for an amplifier? And then it's the NAMM, because you click there, that's it, boom, it's done,
Yeah.
So it's very, very surprisingly amazing, man. I really like that,
Yeah, and it's what I personally like, I was just discussing with Ryan, is that it's the workflow, because it's like 70,000 plus people like already use it. So that was to answer the question, why didn't we make our own amp sim? And the answer is that if you can get 70,000 plus people to accept your workflow and use your plugin, why the hell would you start competing with that? 70,000 people in 1 year is a lot. Like, that's almost religious. Like, if you can
it's a cult
to use a thing that you made, like Stephen Atkinson, who designed the neural amp modeler, and God bless him, made it free and accessible for everyone. Like, why would I turn it into an amp sim and just like, hey, learn another program? It's and I kind of also do like it that it's like no frills. There's no, got your 7 little buttons that do very basic things, so you're not fooled by any like user interface, like putting all the magic. And it's just focus on the tone, focus what you actually hear, what you actually play, how it responds. Adjust your gate. If it needs to be a little bit brighter, you can do that. Less bassy, okay, sure. More scoop, more midly, you can do that. But you don't get lost in the sea of endless options, so it's easier to commit.
Yeah.
And if you don't like the tone, just next. Maybe you'll like that one,
Sure. Which I know a lot of guitar players kind of mistakenly want to compare something like the NAM or any other kind of profiler or modeler or anything like that. They want to A/B it with, well, does it sound and feel like a tube amp in the room that I'm standing right next to? Which I don't think a single one of them has pretended to be the same thing as that experience.
No, and that's the one thing that we wanted to make sure, is that especially with the HM2, like, we're not the first nor the last vendor to offer like the Swedish chainsaw tone, but I think we're one of the first who are really offering it in a one-click solution that you don't, because I tried it in the raw death metal tones, but I think after I heard the Wolverine and Leffy and all those patches from the guy who played 10 years with LG Petrov, he knows better than I do how the settings should be with the pedal according to the amp and stuff like that. So you can take the guessing work out of the equation with how we do our NAM profile. So the pedal is kind of baked into, so you get a tone. You don't get like units. I'm sure like rectifier, as great as it is, there's some shitty areas that nobody really uses. Turn it past this, and you're not really going to get anything useful out of it. So like a snapshot, this is the good area, take this and go home.
100%.
Yeah.
Which just side note on HM2 tone, I think Guilherme, like a little rig video that you might have done might have been for Gear Gods or something a long time ago with AD, and you were kind of showing your HM2 settings. I'm pretty sure when I still had an original HM2, I kept mine on those settings for like 2-3 years straight or something like that.
That's great.
I think up until the point when I finally caved and sold it, because I had started getting an influx of other HM2s or something like that. Yeah. Hell, I might have shipped it with those settings. I don't even know.
Man, and actually that HM2, I think I have in a drawer here at my place. You just reminded me of something super cool, because I started to get like HM2 freak paranoid guy when I was in Stockholm, and I thought like, man, I need to have like 10 HM2s, because if I get a flight and one is lost and at a gig someone step at it, and if a beer is thrown on stage, in 2-3 festivals I can lose my whole sound. So I was like freaking out with that stuff. So, and then I had my backup plans like the iMaster from TC Electronics. Man, this pedal is great, great, great. And the bottom of it, it's really cool. And what I like on the iMaster pedal, it's that it's like the the numb in your hands because it's two knobs, man. It's like you just turn them on, you know. And it sounds like new, fresh, although 100% HM2, but of course not 100% on the HM2 vibe, but of course not 100% yet there, which it's very funny, man, because HM2 you start to feel like, do you remember when this whole thing this whole thing of craft beers exploded? I got myself at the bars, man, trying like 20 types of beers, pretending I knew what what I was talking about, sour and harmonizes with this and
they
that.
all taste the same.
Yeah. But the HM2, man, you get to a point that you start being sommelier of HM2, man, because there's a Taiwan one, there's the Japanese one, but the Japanese from the ear, blah blah blah, and the Taiwanese, and then you start to get the feeling, man, that pedal actually roughly sounds the same everywhere, but it doesn't, man, because feels like each HM2 you get, I don't know, man, I'm just talking like in a funny way here, but probably guys that plays with this the whole time, they start to get this, they get so used to the frequencies and to the little noises that feels like I don't know, man, temperature changes that sound of that, so then I that pedal that I had, one of my ways to get rid of the paranoia was to give it to the owner and to the engineer from Cleartone pedals. Cleartone, they do yeah, they even did a chainsaw pedal that has a plug-in too. What's the name? Grindstein. Yeah. And I use the Oh My Goat pedal. That is a section of the Grindstein. It's just their boost section of the pedal without the HM2 sound, So then I got like a turbo TS vibe for my sound nowadays. And then I gave that to Carsten, and I had that HM2 that you checked on Gear Gods, a mod version with some extra knobs and extra stuff that I never used it actually, like in a real situation, like live or recording something. So probably I'm going to get that pedal and put on the Stockholm Clean and Stockholm Cleaner profiles, because that two nums are used for you to put a pedal behind them, before them, sorry. So they work for clean rock and stuff, for something bluesy, AC/DC-ish, but the magic of it is that clean sounds that were recorded, depending on what you put before them, you're gonna get a flavor of your own sound, man. So if you put like a tube screamer, depending on how you work with the gain, you can get a very tight, trashy sound on the way of the classics that we all like. But if you put an HM2 before it, it's gonna work perfect. And why did I do that clean sounds? Because I was thinking about that. I was like, man, what if I have my HM2 that sounds like crap, but it's the one that I like? It's my crap. You smell your own
my crap, damn it.
Yeah, you smell your own fart, right? You tolerate that. So but then what's the option that you have to use your own HM2 at a profile that you can record at home? Because then you don't need to have all these speakers, and because when I was doing demos for Entombed, this is one of the problems I had. I was like, man, I have to go to a place and put mics and everything, because nothing works with this pedal at home, like to record on headphones on an apartment at, when you have an idea, 11 p.m., midnight. So then this profile is very important, and then you can have your HM2 or whatever other fuzzy pedal you have and plug in on that clear sound, and it's going to be there, the whole thing, So I have this mod pedal I have to show you later. I think I even know the drawer that I put this this one there. It's saved.
Hell yeah. Definitely have to go over it. I with the HM2 craze, because there have been so many to hop on that bandwagon, I actually just sold one to a buddy. It was the Death knob. I don't know if you've seen that. It's just a one knob like HM2 EQ section that you can just kind of blend how much you want of it. Um, but I already have like a couple other pedals that have that plus more, so it's just like there's so many options. It's not unlike what Ron was talking about with plugins and workflow. It's like the tones don't vary a whole lot with those. Like everyone's trying to get the chainsaw. So it's just like, what else are you offering on top of that? Like a blend, like a built-in noise gate, stuff like that. But I'm trying to think if there's any other questions that I had about the NAM stuff. But right now it's still probably kind of early on for Loudstakk as far as like Ron, you're probably still trying to gather numbers to kind of see where to go from here, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. All I know is we've recorded one more pack with Bannock, and there's probably 5 to 6 other packs in the works. But yeah, like you said, it's right now it's have to see if like the pitch is thrown. Are we going to get a foul ball? Are we going to get a grand slam, or get to the first base and then advance to second and third and maybe make it back home? Just to see if but everybody so far seems to, it actually kind of sucks. I wasn't there to see your face in person, Guilherme, when you like first tried it's like, holy fuck, this actually works. Because I do remember seeing Vanek's face when we trained his Marshall Jubilee, whatever. And I was like, because if he doesn't like it, this whole trip is worth nothing. And then like plugged it in, rolled the volume, da, da, da. Dude, like, yes. So that being said, there's no denying that the technology isn't, bringing it up a notch. And that's like if people don't really like this, then I don't honestly know what to do different. The NAM it's undeniable. And if someone's not convinced yet, try it out. That's why it's so easy, because it's $0, 0 down. Try it and try some of the free profiles. If you want to invest some money, $29, maybe get ours or someone else's. It will for sure. It's going to be an interesting time to see, because I've heard through the grapevine that a lot of sims, and like now with the Genome by 2 Notes, like they're using the NAM as a basis to create something with a little more like controls and stuff. So it's for sure going to be interesting where it goes, and even one day we want to make our own little thing. Well, we don't have to re-record anything, because we can use these files as is as a foundation for the new one. So never been a better time to be a virtual guitar player than right now.
I can't help but wonder if maybe it's Steve Atkinson, right, that created NAM, right? Okay. I'm just curious to see if there'll ever be like funding or anything like that for him to venture into putting NAM into an actual kind of hardware format, because I mean, it's funny because there's almost, prior to NAM, pretty much everything that could do the profiling or capturing thing was in hardware, i.e. the freaking Kemper like 10, 11 years ago. So it's just interesting to see an all digital version of that, basically.
Yeah.
Like a very bare bones free digital. And it's like, okay, say for example, somebody buys Garam's pack and uses the NAM, and they end up recording their demos, maybe their EP, whatever with it, and they're like, man, I love these tones. I want to play with these live. It's like, so it just it'd be really cool just to be able to, I don't know, just some kind of basic, almost like a profile loader. Like they have, like Moore makes IR loaders that are like that big now, you know? Yeah, like super tiny.
like the Raider and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it'd be cool to, can you imagine being able to load up NAM like your like cab and an IR profile into something that tiny and be able to even toggle through different, different tones. And
I don't know if I should say this, but the topic came up in Ohio, and apparently there's some leads to perhaps make it possible, but then we're talking a different ball game. To like anyone who if you can just pretty much put it in microchip, start selling it. It's not if you understand the science and somebody understands the components, in theory, within the next 5 years, we're going to see something like that. Not necessarily through me, but because then you got to ship physical products and print labels and do all that. I like digital.
Sure.
But it's if me and Vanek are thinking about it, and you're thinking about it, Guilherme's thinking about it, Haldora's thinking about it, the guy who pumped my gas in New Jersey was probably about it. So it's it's about to happen,
sure.
way or another, if not today or not tomorrow, in the near future, for sure. Someone's gonna do it.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that pretty much covers a lot of the questions I had about the tone pack and everything. Unless Ron, if there's anything you're wanting to kind of add in.
I don't think there's anything. Well, like with the NAM, I think I pretty much didn't make any notes. You might have guessed or seen, but pretty much covered all the stuff. If anyone's interested, and it's only $29. Today's inflation, $29. Might get a box of cereal with that, or you can get a box of tones. It's more than fairly priced, I believe, and that's kind of what we want to do. Like you just mentioned before, Guilherme joined in. Like Tone X is, what was it, like $200?
Dude, it's stupid. It's like $200 or $300 for the software, and the pedals like $400.
Yeah.
Like their pricing guide actually just really doesn't make sense, like at all.
And that's why we went with NAM, because zero down, use it today and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this might be me talking out of my ass. I don't know, but I think it'd be also really, really sick to not too dissimilar to what you did with some of the Ugritone drums, where you had options for more like raw sounding drums for people that wanted to load them in and kind of do a little bit of the legwork themselves and throw their own EQs, compressors, whatever else, and shape their own tones. Be kind of cool to maybe see some more like raw amp and cab IR kind of tones in the NAM. People can kind of just very raw tone, and people can doctor it up from there.
For sure. And well,
Yeah.
Guilherme was there when Haldor was commanding the desk, but I can't really hear too much of like processing in the IRs of this pack. Not saying it's completely like, this is the mic, in goes the cable into the other cable, and it's like 100% unprocessed, but it's not like a chewed meal that you just have to
Sure.
swallow. kind of.
Yeah,
Like,
what I like the most is that I when we were doing that, I felt it's so natural because everything I hear and I heard everything I hear now that I heard there is exactly the same thing. So me and how we were even discussing this, like, man, this is it. We're not gonna tweak more, but we wanted it to sound very natural. So, for example, when Martin from Destruction tried the pack, he told me like, man, there's a difference in volume when I change the IRs. And then he said, is that okay for you? And I said, man, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because some microphones and some cabinets are sounding louder than the others, you know, because of manufacturers that Ron knows much better than me, and Halder too. But I think that even the difference on how high they sound in volume, it's very positive, because it means that you get like a very raw unprocessed sound. Although, like I mentioned with the GB Chandler, for example, you can use that. It's there, man. The sound is there. You can use that, and then of course, if you put it in an album, you do your thing. You process a bit. There's a whole mixing process, but it's there, you know. So this is very very cool what we achieved so far with this pack, and probably we'll have more ideas to come for sure.
yeah, and it's also if somebody say like they've had their EQ match like Wolverine Blues or Slaughter of the Soul or whatever kind of favorite IR already, but they've been kind of struggling with the proper gain structure, or with like, I'm sure there's an HM2 plugin or a few of them, and then you put it through an amp sim or kind of. But if the amp, the gain structure or the HM2 characteristic, if that's been your issue, then you can just, use the NAM profile and bypass our cabs and use whatever you want, or vice versa,
Which I have experimented with different cab IRs and they still sound killer. And man, what a testament to how great the tones are just naturally, because it being that unprocessed, I personally, I don't think I would have to do very much. Just, just notch a couple notches here and there just to maybe help it sit better with drum and bass. But
Yep.
yeah, killer tones.
Yeah. And that's also the beauty of NAM that I want to add into the pile, is that how little you actually have to mix your guitars once you switch into NAM, because it's the sizzling top end that the guy who did the stream, Tyler, yesterday at the Amsterdam Universe, like he did a lot of these open chord ring out tests, and that's where the real difference really between NAM and like what I call the old Amsims. They could be like 2 months old, but if they're not done with the NAM technology, they just kind of the harmonics and everything, and it's like, yeah, you will be surprised like how little you have to put on top of your guitars, like as far as EQ or the Wave C4 or whatever you use to compress get that cha 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 out of those. So it's much more like mixing a real guitar. It breathes, and all that Eddie Van Halen stuff, like when you have the palm of your hand, like kind of like those harmonics and weird. I could do none of that stuff with like the Amsims of the past. But now it's like kind of, or the ZZ Top, the weird when it's all just like pinch harmonics in a solo, like it doesn't. You don't need a whole lot of gain. Like that's the thing. I was just playing with the Swan Blues, and I was like playing some AC/DC stuff. It's like, this is amazing because it's not overly gainy, but when I go like the leads don't choke like they used to with with the older sims. So that's me likey.
Well, hell yeah, man. Yeah, I think that really covers pretty much anything I had with the NAM. Uh, Ron, if there's anything you want to try to plug real quick, like whenever the Vanek thing's coming out, anything like that before you go.
Probably May. That really kind of, we've built our schedules around his. I believe he's in China right now.
Okay.
Depends what time you're watching this, but at the time of recording, I believe Vanek is in the land of China. And then they're going to Europe, and I think they were just in Australia. And so once he gets back from his rock and roll adventures, then we'll set up a suitable. I might have to make another trip to Cleveland just to do stuff. But yeah, that's coming out in May. Eventually, maybe later, but not earlier than May. But yeah, if you guys like, if you want the real Entombed AD, like Guilherme just said, it's the same pedals, same, everything. This is not an emulation per se. This is collecting, like, captured by the actual gear that you've heard on those records. So, and also Inferno from Behemoth allowed us to use one of his cabs, which is the greenback that everybody's raving about. So kudos to Mr. Perminsky as well.
Hell yeah. Which God, sorry, that just reminds me I need to revisit Drums Against Humanity. So, but cool. Ron, thank you for coming on here, dude.
Hey, and I will be tuning in for hear you guys talk about more guitars and death metal, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna go make some roast beef.
Sick. Thanks, Ron.
Catch you guys later.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Thank you, Ryan.
Later, man.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yep.
See you.
So first off, let's just kind of go over what your live rig is looking like for Dieth, because I'm sure a lot of people are just itching to know.
Yeah, actually my pedal board is here quite near me because I'm at this place here where I have all my stuff now. And but basically what I try to do with Dieth is I try to sum up everything I like to have to feel comfortable on stage. I try to sum up in the easiest how to call, in the easiest device I could have, So live, I have some backups because I use Mower. I'm endorsed by Mower for 5-6 years now. Mower Audio, they're a great company, and I really love their mini pedals. I don't know if you guys ever tried it. If you ever tried on rigs of death metal.
I haven't done like a demo or nothing, but I've had buddies that have had like some of the preamp, little mini preamp pedals, and the radar.
Exactly.
I'm aware about it.
No, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. So then from that, I evolved to the Mowers series, like the preamp live. In the GE series, I have the 250 that I really recommend to use live, and in studio is even better. And it's very funny because the 250 GE 250 from Mower, man, their wah from this modelers and I don't know, man, pedal boards, digital devices, whatever we can call that, is one of the coolest wahs I've tuned in, So it's very, very cool wah on the 250, and I use this to record many stuff I've done in studio,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, because the Mower you have the balanced output, the XLR.
Sure.
So man, I just plug that, put on the preset of their wah, and it's good to go. So I don't have to worry about anything else because then I already have a balanced output. Everything's ready, But live, man, I'm still a bit superstitious And my experience with playing festivals all over the world, man, is like this. Unless you have a very good, big, tight team with yourself, and that's very important for people to hear. Unless you have a team that is big as a Monomarth, huge band. So they have one technician for each musician that can do their sound check when they get to festivals. Usually, either they're playing prime time or they're headlining. So of course they're in the first line to sound check and everything. So for them, the gear they use actually doesn't matter that much because they will have enough time and sources to dial in everything as they should for it to be good as good as it can on their monitors or in-ears or PA system. So when you're, and I'm not talking about a Monomarth, I'm using them as an example, as a as a general thing. It's like Iron Maiden, whatever. So when you're in a band that is as big as these ones, I believe that Metallica is using fractals nowadays. So when you're in a band of this caliber, of course you can do that. But once you're in a mid-sized band, small mid-sized band, but it's still professional band that is touring all over the world, it's not all the technicians that are going to get this plug and play, the directly thing and stuff. But what I realized, and I'm using MLC, that they have the Sub-Zero 100 that is pretty much a Marshall with their third channel on steroids, So it's a JCM 800-ish. Depending on how you use it, you can sound like Plexi. Mm-hmm. But on the third channel, they're like on steroids. So I've summed up my gear. I've reduced it to a minimum that I could plug in any Marshall in the world, because in any festival you will go, they're going to have a Marshall cabinet and a Marshall head. It's not usually that they're going to have a fancy boutique amp or something at a festival. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. So I dialed in a live pedal board that I can play anywhere in the world, which is pretty simple. It's a Oh My Goat from Ugritone.
Okay.
Yeah, that I use to boost I put it in front of the amp. I do a loop in a noise gate, but I do a loop in the pedal, that's noise gates that has the send return. Mm-hmm. So I do a loop in the pedal. So I use like a Morley Wawa, the Bad Horsey #2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so my chain is Bad Horsey, Oh My Goat. Then I have the noise gate on the loop. After the noise gate, I have a pedal that I built with MLC that is the Dieth signature pedal that we didn't plan even to release this because we were trying on the road, but it's a very cool device, man. Because then I told Marek from MLC, like, man, I want everything I need for having a great solo channel or a very good clean channel. Because if I turned off my Oh My Goat and I use any amp the way I use, because I don't push the gain that much in the amp. I push volume, but I don't push gain. So my way of achieving high gain is actually not using much gain. So that's very strange to say in a Rigs of Death Metal interview. But actually, my gain even on a Marshall is like on 4, 5 maybe, 6 o'clock, tops. I don't use much more than that. And on Oh My Goat from Ugritone, my gain is on #2, but I put the level and the boost there, and I crank my picking, my guitar picking, and I always tell the people, like, man, a lot of the distortion is here they were using, and then this device from MLC, I put it on the send return of the amp, which is a pedal with like, I don't know, 6, 7 knobs, and then there I have boost, I have delay, reverb, and there's a dwell button. There's some mix button, whatever, that I don't even know much what it does, but it sounds cool. And then I told Marek, like, man, I want a big red pedal. So when I'm playing live, I just, and I use, and that's why I use the Morley Wow too, because it's huge, and my feet is big. I'm 1.90 meters, I'm not a small guy, so I like to kick the pedal. I don't like to. I don't like to dance on stage with all the pedals, especially now with Dieth that I'm playing and singing. So, you know, man, I'm singing a chorus there and I have to go straight to the solo. So I just step on one button. It's more or less like it's almost emergency button there. So that's what I use pretty much. It's this chain of pedals, and I use like a wireless from Shure that it's the, I forgot the name of it because they changed it now, but it's that wireless system that
A tuner.
it's a tuner,
well.
yeah. It's a pedal that the antenna is there instead of going outside that little flag.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which for me is the best thing ever. You put together best of both worlds. So this is my live rig, you know. This thing with MLC is very cool, man, because then you put everything in one device. It takes a while to dial in well. Like, you know, we have to do few tryouts, but once you do it, man, it's one step. So it's very practical thing, you know. So then I worry just about playing, not about stepping and stuff all the time, you know.
For sure. Did I kind of missed what you said there about the Dieth pedal? Did you say it was going to be like some kind of limited release or something, or has it already been out and I missed it?
No, man, that's our idea, but yet we didn't move on with this project because they were releasing a signature pedal for a band called the Raven Age. I don't know if you know this band, but looks like they're making it quite big now. And they released some, man, I don't know if it's a boost or an overdrive. They released some kind of a signature pedal as well. And that was taking a lot of time in the company. And then I told the guys, like, hey, you know, next summer, once I get on the road with Dieth again, let me use this pedal for one more season. And then we're going to sit down and check the ups and downs of the pedal and, you know, how to make it better, how to perfect it, how does it really sound. And then we go from there, you know.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm kind of excited to see it in action or hear it. It sounds cool. I'm a big fan of any kind of pedal that's sort of like a Swiss Army knife, you know.
Man, and I don't know how this pedal brings the best of both worlds, and it looks like everything I step on it works for the way I use it. Because, for example, I really like this kind of you know, this left-hand path or a clandestine reverb sound that the distortion is very far with the HM2, you know, that's a lot of reverb and delay. And with this pedal live, it's very straight to your face. And if you do even that kind of sound, it's going to work. And I just recorded a playthrough for a Dieth song called Dead Inside. I bring this pedal board and my guitar in a music store in São Paulo called Amazing Guitar. So they're importing a lot of stuff. And they were very interested on doing this playthrough with me, not only because of Dieth, but because now with Dean Guitars, I'm using their new models. So I'm releasing their new models, especially to play metal. So I'm using the Through Breed black satin guitar with Fishman pickups, and I'm using their new V guitar, the Vengeance.
Okay.
Man, it's killer gear. So they were like, man, bring this here because we're gonna start, you know, maybe people want to order, so let's make a video. It's not out yet. And then I told the guys, like, okay, so I'm going with the guitar and my pedal board, and you guys set up a way to record this that I just plug my stuff like I use live. And they loved it because they were like, and even for them it's easier to just get one take and record, you know, like it's live. So you don't have to edit much and do much stuff. And I used an amp that I never used before called Driftwood.
Oh yeah, those are sick. Yeah.
Do you know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never used Driftwood before. I heard about them, but I never played.
They kind of get compared to like a really high end, really refined sort of 5150 kind of thing. Like that kind of in that ballpark, but just like super high end and boutique.
Yeah. No, they had this Driftwood there, but more with EL34s on their power section there.
That's
cool. Yeah, so you get some more dynamic Marshall-ish feeling. That I think that the Oh My Goat is very cool for that. That's why I chose to use this pedal with the Marshalls live, because because then I can compress and saturate to a right point. Sometimes if it's the 6L6 very high gain amps and I throw the Oh My Goat in front of it, I think that especially live it can get too much. It can be a bit spongy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so with the driftwood I did it on EL34, and I don't know when this video is gonna go out. It should be in a few days or a few weeks. It depends on their schedule there, but it's I can send a link later on because it's very cool that
Sure.
because then I played the whole rhythm section with what I do live, and I use this Dieth pedal for the solo sessions and some arrangements. And when I was there, I thought it sounded very sick. I have to listen to the recording that I didn't listen yet, but I believe it's gonna be very, very on point.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. What did that kind of covers a lot of the as far as the live setup was the studio setup for Dieth, was it pretty similar or was it a whole variety of things or
I'm pretty similar, man. Very,
yeah.
very similar. Yeah, yeah. And I've chosen to use this gear live because on studio that's what worked, you know.
Sure.
Of course, we tried a lot of stuff. I used some MLC and the Sub-Zero 100. That is this more Marshall-driven sound. It's what worked better in studio. And then we did some reampings with Marshalls as well. We used the JVM, the JVM, that Joe Satriani one, JVM 410.
Yeah, yeah.
It's 410, yeah. So we used that one, and I forgot the name of the cabinet. I don't remember if it's a Marshall with greenbacks or something similar. I have the picture of that, you know, or if it was a Marshall with V30s but a good Marshall cabinet. We used some MLC cabinets too, but pretty much it was that, and the wah I recorded was the mower wah because
Okay.
when I was doing some of the solos, I was doing them because I have a way. I have my own space to record, and some of the things I like to do in studio, some of the things I like to do everything in studio, let that marinate. I know, like for a few days, so that gets softer in the head, and then I come back home and I start to throw in details, you know, like extra guitars, extra vocals, extra parts, and then all these I can record by myself. I don't need to go to a studio. And then I use the Mora wah for some wah solos that I really wanted to have in there. So you know, it's this variety stuff. You know.
That's awesome. It's just the one that's kind of built onto the GE, right? Or is it the because I know they make like their own wah and it's like a little mini thing that can like even
No,
like
I
a
used the one
bake.
on the I used the one on the GE 250.
Okay. That's awesome.
No, it sounds sick, man. Sounds sick. It's very good stuff.
It's it's so surprising, like the great tones that you can cram into small, kind of more digital sort of packages and stuff, and just how travel friendly everything has gotten. Um, and still sounds great. Held up, like under the
Yeah,
microscope of studio, some stuff doesn't quite hold up as well, but these days it seems like everything's up to par.
yeah, man. One thing that I'm learning is to be more relaxed with the gear because it's like I've been there to be super stressed the whole time. Like, man, if my guitar doesn't have strings that I just changed on the gauge I use with the brand I use, oh my man, it's the end of the world. And nowadays, and then man, you start to travel. For example, once I went to play a festival in Katowice in Poland called Metal Mania. It's quite famous. Probably watched videos of bands playing there on YouTube and stuff. And you know, for me, it was like an achievement to play this festival. We were playing us, Sodom, a lot of bands, man, that we really love to play together and to be around. Mayhem was playing, I think, it was very cool. And man, we took the flights, gear, guitar sent, everything. We arrived at the venue. Where are the guitars, man? They were in Warsaw. Okay,
Oh,
so they could send the guitars by the train or by shuttle and stuff. Okay, great. The guitars get the next day 7 a.m. and we're gonna play at 8 p.m. and we were there at 5. So man, I didn't have my guitar, I didn't have my picks, I didn't have my pedal board, I didn't have anything. So we started to knock at the doors of the other bands together with the promoter to see who could have a guitar that would be in our tuning, that could hold the whole concert, this kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we went there and we played the gig, and the gig was great, man. And then you start to realize like to how to get a little bit more relaxed with the gear, because this kind of thing can happen live. It can happen that your gear doesn't arrive. It can happen that things happen on the way. So like with this thing of using the mower instead of the Y, I use live. I love the mower Y, man. I recommend that 100%. And the Sinister guys gave us the gear that, so thanks Sinister guys. Yeah.
Nice.
We used their guitars back then.
Awesome band. Kind of on the Moore stuff, and I was like watching some Pig Destroyer videos, like from, I don't know, I guess last couple months, and saw that even their guitar player was it looked like the 250, like had the 3 or 4 buttons with the expression controller.
Yeah.
And I've seen a handful of other bands actually playing out with that thing. I can't remember. Is that one of the models that they make that actually has amp capturing in it, like to where you can like profile amps and stuff? Or
Yeah, actually, from what I know, they have 3 models that can do it.
yeah.
From what I can recollect now, it's the preamp live,
Mm-hmm.
and the preamp live is as it says, it's more of like a preamp thing. Of course, they have cab simulation, so they have a lot of impulse responses that you can throw in there. And I think the preamp live, it's great, man. It's like going to a gig with a bunch of guitar heads in a box like this. It's the preamp live. It really blows my mind. Then you have the more 200, 250, and 300. The 200 is the oldest version of the 250, and I got the 250 directly because I was using the preamp live, and then when they released the 200, I was too busy with the preamp live, and I didn't get the 200. So then I got the 250, which has a tone capture, same as the 300, and yeah, and it's pretty cool actually, but I don't have that much experience with their tone capture. I think I have more experience now with the Nero amp modeler than with the Mower tone capture. So I could later on do some captures of amps with Mower and compare them.
That'd be sick. You gotta share your findings.
Yeah, I gotta do that.
And almost goes without saying, like you gotta get some chainsaw in there,
Oh yeah, on Mower.
I mean, I doubt that they have a whole lot. On the note of chainsaw, let's kind of shift over and talk about how did your musical journey take you from Brazil over to Europe and get hooked up with one of the pioneers of the genre, especially out of Sweden, LG Petrov, and doing Entombed AD? Like, how did that whole thing come about?
Yeah, man. I mean, like, playing metal my whole life, and I was playing in underground bands, and you start to connect the dots and be part of the scene and to connect with a lot of people, and so on and on and on. So what I can say is that each song you record, each demo you do, each album you make, sometimes it doesn't feel once you're there that you're making progress, but you are, and making progress somehow, because sometimes you're not getting paid, you're not monetizing your business yet, but you're getting paid on credibility, credibility and networking. You put your band to go around and stuff like that. So that's some sort of the moral payment that you start to get, and this is very important to get paid somehow. And then by that I mean like that you're making progress because you're saying like, man, okay, so this paid off because I've been to this town and I met this guy And man, maybe this guy from this town that you played 15 years ago, he's the guy organizing the next. You never know, man. He's the guy organizing the next Judas Priest gig. And and usually these people that helped you in the beginning, and you helped them in the beginning as well, usually they always remember you, and then they put you to open these big concerts as well. So it's not a one-way road. You do things together. You treat people right. You treat people well. You show you're doing things for the right reasons, and this usually, one way or another, starts paying off. And that's what happened with my old band Crow. It's like the band could have taken off much bigger than we could make back then. But the devil is in the details. And back then we were too young there in Brazil. But anyway, we were about to stop the band, either to record a new album or to just have a break from touring, because we were touring a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In Europe especially, we were touring a lot, man, and the demand for the band was growing and growing and growing. We were sort of, if you would think like music wise, we were some sort of a smaller Crisium, so to say, much smaller still, but I think we were heading that direction back then. Although musically I believe we would change a bit. I don't think we would give that kind of outcome musically like Crisium is doing. But we were in that field, so to say. And then
Sure.
I was working as a tour manager for many bands in Latin America, because I speak English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So it's the best of all these worlds. I could speak English to the bands, Spanish to the promoter, and Portuguese to the agency that was hiring them. So it was cool. And then when they decided to bring Entombed to South America. I told the guy, like, great, man, so let's do this. But if you want me as a tour manager, I would like my band to open all the concerts, because I've put a lot of efforts and my own contacts to make this tour happen as well. Not only in Europe, but in South America too. I spoke to promoters. I did my part on the deal. And I thought that was nothing but fair enough for my band to at least open the gigs.
Sure.
So we could have some exposure, And it's funny because it was my birthday the day I got the guys at the airport in São Paulo. It was my birthday, so I put them at I didn't say anything. I put them at the hotel, gave each one their keys, and I said, like, guys, but I'm going to the bar to have a beer because it's my birthday and I deserve some. And then man, you offer alcohol to them to guys, they just said, you're gonna have a beer. And I said yes, and then from there I stayed in the band until LG left us, but was
Sure.
yeah, it was a killer time. But then then the connection started, because it was right on that transition between Entombed and Entombed AD, which Entombed AD was pretty much Entombed, and they Alex got out of the band and stuff, or they kicked him out. Not even they know how what was the procedure there. If you ask them nowadays, they don't know still. And they're still friends and stuff. It's just that this legal thing, man, it got to anyway. So when we were booking the tour, I remember that I sent an email to the guys saying, like, guys, because they were flying without the second guitarist, like they've done in Europe. And then I as far as I was doing the advances for the tour, I told the guys, like, guys, if you need a second guitarist, count on me to play these gigs, but just don't cancel the tour, because everything, man, like more than half of the tour was already paid, deposits were made, cash was in the bank. So if we would cancel the tour, it was going to be like a huge problem, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I think they stayed with this email in their minds, And then one of the days on the tour, the guys came to me like, hey, man, were you the guy saying you would play guitar for us? I said, yeah. And they said, like, okay, so what's your input on that? Are you still up for it? And I said, of course. And then their drummer, Ule, he asked me, like, yeah, but we barely know how you play. And I told him, man, my band is opening the gigs every day. So you go there earlier and watch us playing. If it's enough for you, you let me know. And then, in the end of the tour, they came to me, and LG told me, like, would you be up for going on a tour in 3-4 weeks? I said, man, my name is ready. My surname is I'm there, and then that's how it happened.
Okay. So the lesson to be taken here is be open to networking and being patient and just being a consummate professional at all times.
Yeah, I mean, and be available and be open for the opportunities, because sometimes people complain like about the opportunities, and sometimes the opportunity is near you and you have to grab it. Sometimes it's in your hand, but you have to be ready to take in the opportunity as well. Because sometimes the opportunity appear and you're not ready, and you don't even see it. And in this case, and I'm not saying here, man, to go doing this, because one thing is networking. Networking is being polite, treating people well, and being professional. The other thing is to be too much on people, and that's fake smiles all the time and stuff. And people know when you're licking their balls, man. People are not stupid, man. So if you're licking everybody's balls to get an opportunity, it's not gonna work as well. So there's a balance there too, like.
Sure.
If you're too patient and you don't take action and shit, things can pass as well. So there's a mid ground here,
Gotcha.
I believe, I hope.
From the handful of people I've talked to that had even remotely similar stories to yours, it was kind of along those same lines. Maybe different chain of events, but more or less the same mindset anyway. So kind of take me back. What was it that first kind of got you into guitar playing? Was it like early Metallica, or seeing a band on TV or something, or family, or what was it?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. It's like I've been listening to rock music for a long while before I started playing guitar, and I think I was very fortunate because I've done the holy trinity for rock and metal music, at least in my conception. It's like I start with Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. So it's great that I've been going step by step until I reach extreme metal, which I see that some people that they start listening to rock directly on the most extreme bands, and in 2 years they're listening to some, whatever. It's there, because I think that the foundation of the rock music in the 70s rock, it's at least in my case, it's very solid and makes you it makes your pillars very, very steady to come and put more stuff until you reach the ceiling. So I was listening to music and stuff, but that I said, like, man, I really want to play guitar, was Megadeth Rust in Peace and Metallica Ride the Lightning. That two albums, they blew my mind, man. When I heard that, I was like, I have to really learn this thing, which I'm still learning, but back then I was the start.
For sure.
Yeah.
I see the nylon string classic acoustic behind you.
Oh yeah.
Did you start off being classically trained or anything, or
Yeah, actually, during the pandemic, I got this guitar and I started to get some other styles, and I've done like a basic flamenco course,
okay.
which I see that it's gonna take me 35 more years to get. Yeah, it's a lot to sink in, and and I intend to get some classical guitar thing here, but it's just for my sake of playing and doing something musically different, and it gets to a point, man, that I think that it's like some stuff in guitar, it's like going to the gym for sure. I even want to later on, I want to build up like some sort of a community or a course. I'm going to do something on this direction that is the guitar gym, because in a way, man, I think it's like a personal trainer, man, because guitar and gym are the most ungrateful, unthankful activities you can have, man. Because sometimes if I stay like, when you travel for a week and you have to do some family stuff, you know, for example, Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's Eve. So you stop playing guitar on the 23rd of December. 5 of January, you come back, man, and you don't know the instrument. Man, I don't know how to. It's over. And your belly is huge and your skin is fucked. So it's like gym and guitar, they're very, especially if you're playing metal and extreme metal, death metal, I think it's very physical as well. It's not only technical.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of maintenance to be done. And one of the ways that I found to do this maintenance in a funny way is to learn everything I do picking. I'm starting to learn with the fingers. So nowadays, when I'm going to practice with the click, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, like five notes per click, or triplets. Instead of doing that on the pick the whole time, I'm doing that with the fingers here, like the flamenco does.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing that on guitar now, because then you fuck up your fingers a lot. So then when you get the nylon strings, you fly. And what's funny, man, it's incredible how my picking evolved like immensely since I started playing like this. I don't know how something connected that I'm tighter, faster, playing better, because I'm practicing differently. So it's I don't know. I don't know how to solve this puzzle yet, but it worked. So then for me, it's a funny way to keep practicing a lot, but without getting bored, you know?
Sure.
And the guitar gym, I'm saying, is like, because you have to practice every day, man, at least if it's 10 minutes, but you have to, you know?
Absolutely. Whenever it comes to like building chops, or building speed, dexterity and precision and all that stuff, I use the same analogy. Sitting there for an hour or two a day with a metronome, working on your chops, focusing on what both hands are doing and locking them in tight, all that stuff. It's exactly like gradually adding up weight in the gym. Starting off light and just little by little build upon whatever foundation you have, honing in on technique, honing in on your full range, all that stuff.
And even writing songs, man, I think that the brain somehow, some parts of the brain works like a muscle as well. It's like once I tune in on the frequency of writing songs, and if I keep writing songs or improving some music that is there already to be done, the idea is there, but it's not done yet. I've realized that once I'm tuned in writing on the writing process, and I write something, even if the ideas are not there and you don't have patience, because sometimes you need a break because it gets too much. But once I do it every day, man, if it's even 10 minutes, sometimes it can be 10 hours, of course, because you get in the flow. But even writing songs, man, I've realized that if you do this for a period, like very regularly, it starts to be like in the gym, because you write more and more and more, better and better, and you perform more, and the ideas are more sophisticated and everything. And then if you stop writing, like I've done on the end of the year now, to travel and play, and then you try to come back writing, it takes a while until you write well connected riffs again. So I'm listening to the stuff I wrote for Dieth now in the end of the year, because me and David, we were writing together. There's already a disclaimer here, because we wrote a very good song together. He gave me one of his riffs from the 90s. He was going to put on Megadeth, and it didn't go. Not bad. It's just that he said, like, man, I still have this riff here from 95. I always wanted to use that. And I was like, fuck yeah, man, vamos, And then we wrote this song together. And man, I was so much in the mood to write songs back then, like 2-3 months ago, that I opened my digital audio working station here, which I use Logic. So I opened my Logic here, man. It's 40 channels. And I even thought, like, man, why do I do this with myself? I should write 2 guitars and a good vocal line. But I programmed drums. So what I'm saying is I was really in the mood already, and then it grows. And now when I open this project, I get tired just to look at it. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's like 3 months without going to the gym. Once you go and you lift the first series, like, oh no, I don't want to come back. So I think for the brain works maybe the same way in few areas, you know.
Absolutely. And I've had experiences with both here very recently, having to take a couple weeks off of the gym for an injury, and then I went back this past week. I'm just I feel like an old man right now. And then there was like a week where even though I was working on stuff, on projects, you probably know this, you know, you're writing, you're mixing, you're doing all this stuff, but you're not actually like practicing. So you'll go to, you know, do something and it's just coming out kind of sloppy because you haven't warmed up or whatever. It's like, oh crap, I got to woodshed this before I can actually track it.
Yeah, exactly, man, exactly.
Which is the worst because you're trying to get stuff done.
No, and then you start losing your patience, like with yourself, like, oh man,
yeah.
why did I stay all these days without practicing? Oh. And then it's Then you go have a beer to relax.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the loop.
Dude, I kind of spoiler for those that are watching this later on YouTube. You'll notice we're in different shirts. We kind of split this recording into 2 days. But so yesterday when we got done recording with Ron, I went to retrack a solo on a song, and it took me it probably took me damn near an hour to track it. I was just not happy, kept scratching out ideas, and then when I had it, it took me forever to nail it. It was just I don't know why. I tried punching it in too, and it was only working if I tried to do it in one take. So it just became a huge headache, you know?
Yeah.
But
no, I get it, man. I get it. And then it stops to be fun, and you start to tell yourself that, like, man, I'm not capable. Why am I even trying to record this? You know? It's like,
yeah, almost all for a second even thought, do I even need to track any kind of solo or lead or melody or anything here?
Why don't I just make some noise here and let it ring?
Yeah. It's like I started it off with like a Slayer kind of whammy thing anyway. I'm like, why don't I just do a couple more of those? Like just pull a Kerry King and just do nothing but whammy bar.
Yeah.
So going and kind of focusing on songwriting for a second, where would you say mentally it starts when it comes to songwriting? Do you have to have something to kind of bounce off of, like a drum beat or anything, or will you just hear a melody out in the wild or just pop up and you build on it, or like how does the process start for you?
Man, actually, the process for me starts in all these ways you just said, you know, because it's like sometimes I have this in my mind and I can't get it out and I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm like, man, I have to sit down with the guitar and put this down and see if it works. Because sometimes you have like a great idea, and once you record it, you see that it was just great in your subconscious, you know, actually it was shit. and you had to listen to it a few times to just accept, like, okay, I sucked. But from there usually comes the best songs, man, because you had something in mind, you start throwing an idea, and my process mainly works like this. I have something in mind, I start throwing an idea, and I have to stop everything and program drums. Because and usually I use drum loops, and this is one of the ways that I connected with Ron back in the days, because of his MIDI drum grooves. And I really like to have all these intros and all this stuff that he does, because once you cut your riff into a tempo and you start putting the drums, you start to get a feeling of it, like, okay, this is gonna work. Because it's not because we're in 2024 or the technology is great now that I'm saying this. I never had the patience, man, since I was a teenager, to sit down in a rehearsal room, playing everything super loud with a fucking drummer, man, that he gets your idea wrong and he plays over your guitar. And instead of rehearsing and doing something professional, you just waste your fucking time, and somebody starts to drink and becomes that circus that it's. I hate that, man. So for me, digital audio working stations and all this stuff that happened is great. So you don't waste your time showing 1 million ideas to the guys as well. You don't put everybody tired of you, which happened with me when I was a teenager, that I was coming to the rehearsal room. We had like 3 hours and I was showing 30 riffs to see what works, you know? So now I get these 30 riffs that I had in mind, and I put a sequence like, okay, man, this riff would be super cool with a blast beat. Man, you put a drum loop there. Nah. But sometimes you put the same riff, man, with a different drum beat, and the riff grows, you know? And same thing with the blast beats. Some riffs, I imagine them slow, and then I put a blast beat and I'm like, wow, fuck, this division of this drum beat here with the picking. So it really depends. But usually I get an idea, start putting the drum loops. The drum loops give me more ideas, and more ideas make me cut some more drums, and I start to create the whole thing, you know. But it really depends. Sometimes I have very spontaneous ideas as well, and so on.
That's it's actually kind of refreshing to hear somebody be a proponent of like the modern digital, you know, being able to, an individual being able to sit at home and write something out. I'm a big proponent of it, because that's all I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I'll work and collaborate with like vocalists or maybe another guitar player, but that's about it for now. But
yeah, man.
And like, how many band practices turned into trying to teach a riff to the bass player, guitar player, and then you got everybody else standing around waiting, just twiddling their thumbs while, you know, you and just one other person are basically having a lesson. Whereas this is like, you know, one person can hash out the ideas, other people can still get feedback, and you can still change and rearrange and work stuff. But now you got all kinds of time on, everybody can do it at their leisure, right?
Yeah, man. And once you're writing a song, man, there is a flow to it that it's like this. And it's like, I know you don't mean to be arrogant with it, neither do I. But I believe that people are going to identify with this, that it's like, man, thinking about a cook, you know, the guy's cooking there in a restaurant, and then comes 3 more guys and start to throw pepper, salt, and honey. The guy's going to say, man, no, wait, what the fuck, the thing's cooking. Can you learn how it's cooked first? For fuck's sake, man, don't put coffee on the beans. It's, you know what I mean? And then you're there rehearsing, man, and the fucking guys, and then everybody starts to think you're an asshole because you're just telling them, wait, man, listen, you know, and people can't listen because they want to talk. And then, oh man, and then not to mention when they bring the girlfriends to the rehearsals, man, and then I hate it, man. So, and don't take me wrong, like with Entombed, we were very old school to make songs. And Nule, for example, he's so much of a fabulous drummer and great songwriter that we didn't even use the click to record the last album, man. We put the we put the track, and Nico is very good producer, you know, the other guitarist from Entombed. He played Entombed, I don't know, man, 18 years. Plus he produced 2 or 3 albums and engineered. So he's on the float there. He was working with LG pretty much since, I don't know, man, Uprising maybe, you know, so it was like 20 years together, 21 years. And Nico is very skilled with this. So we were getting the songs, nailing them. And Nico was saying like, okay, guys, so you and Ule now, you record some of the songs we've done like this. Nico was engineering, getting the sound. He passed me the song. For example, if it was one of his songs, he was like, oh, the song's like this. Record with Ule, then he jumps in, you know. So we were doing like one big take, boom, with the drums. second big take, third big take. So like, if the song's 5 minutes, you play 5 minutes. Like, so we were rehearsing a lot, practicing a lot. But when we were bringing the ideas of the songs, like some of the songs I've done for the last album, I've done this, man. I've done all the tryouts, I've done all the ideas, I tried several drum loops. Then I would bring this to Nico and Ule. We would sit down, listen to the song, practice it. But then you practice it more organized. You see what works, what not. And then the guy throw in another riff, because then the meat is ready. And then the guy say, man, what if we throw some spices here, some herbs? And then it works. So with Entombed, we didn't even use the click. And we rehearsed a lot and stuff. But we've built up a lot of the ideas before. And Ule writes a lot of songs to the drummer. So I was building the ideas, and he was saying, man, don't bring everything ready, but bring me something so I can listen. What do you think at least about the tempo? If you're going to play this fast, or if you want to slow down, like that's that part of the song. And he throw in many riffs in my songs that I loved. And I remember that one of the riffs for The Torment Remains, that it's the slower riff there. I tried all the drum loops you can imagine, man, and none of them worked. And when I got to the rehearsal, I was very like, fuck, man, nothing works with this riff, but the riff is great. Then I told Ule, like, I don't know, man, you love this Black Sabbath. And then he said, no, I know. And he threw in that drums that the simple as possible, and it worked. Great. So now I'm advocating to do the songs together. But you know what I mean? Like the technology on this matter, for me, it just helped me to get 10 times more productive, get better songs, and do things much faster than I used to do before,
Gotcha. Even having the immediate feedback of tracking something and hearing it played back to you with different drums, with a second guitar, with harmony, with bass, whatever. Just even having that and giving it a little bit more perspective and context, I think just helps the songwriting process a fucking lot. And furthermore, like, anytime I do jam with anybody, it's like we're normally like a bunch of dads that are, it's the one time this month we've been able to get everybody's schedules on, together.
Yeah. So
for an hour or two, maybe, the last thing I want to do is spend 30 minutes showing a riff, so it's great to show up already, like you're saying, already organized, have the rough idea. Everybody's already heard it, so they've all been able to work on it.
No, man, because drummers learning songs on the rehearsal, for real, man, I'm traumatized by that. I'm traumatized by that because man, I'm traumatized by. So then everybody learns the riff. They get the riff, everything ready, and it's and then you can, even if it's just one riff, man, with one drum beat. But if you record this before and it works and you show it to the guys, then, for example, impulse responses, how can they work as a useful tool for you? It's not that you're going to use impulse responses the whole time, man. It's not that you're going to use, I'm selling my guitar tone pack here. It's not that you're going to use the numb 24 hours of your life. Nothing is the whole time. But for example, if you get used to a certain impulse response, and then you say like, okay, man, but this is like for example, in my pack, we have the V7 Edge microphone, which, by the way, if you go to our library in the website there's a Morbid Dominate. If I'm not wrong, we put this name, Morbid Dominate, sort of feeling preset vibe that I've recorded there. Because I got some of the riffs that spontaneously come to my mind, and I recorded them to put on the list on the website. And I recorded bands that I like. I recorded riffs that I like from bands, and I played the riffs as I learned them by hearing. Like, okay. So, for example, if you use a microphone in the Edge, it really sounded for me like Morbid Danger from the Domination era. And I put Morbid Dominate because I played the intro riff from Dominate, the song. That for me was one of the most shocking songs I've heard when I was a teenager, because I loved Morbid Angel. for me, the song number, if I'm not wrong, the third song from the Altars of Madness, Visions from the Dark Side. The way that you know, Richard Brunel and a Trey are harmonizing guitars on that album, and Blessed Are the Sick, man, it's the most evil stuff you can get on guitar so far. I heard stuff more extreme here and there and stuff, but more evil than the Morbid Danger picking riffs. It blows my mind. And then you can get that feeling. So what I'm trying to say here is that it's like, once you use this impulse response and you know that it works, then when you get to your studio to rehearse with your band and record something, you go there and you put the microphone in the edge. So it's already that half an hour that you were going to try to find the sound. How does it sound? That using this on your computer, you already get to the studio more focused. Like, okay, I'm going to put this microphone in the edge of the speaker. You know, this song works like this, and the drummer knows that we're playing, you know, 110 BPM. So all these make your life easier, and then it's funnier to make music, you know, because then you get it from an organized level, you know.
Yeah, and you kind of get the added bonus too of learning the importance of mic plus speaker and cabinet plus the mic position. It makes, and there's a lot of people that make inflammatory statements online, you know, make it seem like it's the only thing that matters. I wouldn't go that far, but it's extremely important. And, you know, I started learning about recording and miking cabs and all that stuff and doing everything the old school way first. And I was like, okay, it sounds good. I don't really know what I'm doing. We're just kind of putting this here. I was like, didn't really shoot out a whole bunch of stuff, just kind of grabbed what worked and mic'd it up. It wasn't until I started messing at home with impulse responses and seeing the variety that you could get. Literally, like a buddy and I made an impulse response pack of my Marshall cab behind me with just a 57 in different positions on each of the four speakers, and all of them sound different. Everything sounds different. It's crazy.
And it feels like with 157 in different positions on the speaker, you have different amps, which is crazy. You know, it's
wild.
Feels like you have, it feels like 5 positions. You have 5 different amps, and then you change the amps, and that's why people sometimes get inflammatory because of this. Because sometimes when you change the amps with the same speaker and microphone position, it doesn't change as much as when you as when you change the amp, you know. So it's like when you change the amp, it doesn't change as much as when you change the position of the speaker or the microphone on the speaker or the speaker itself. So it's but that's the beauty of it, man. It's the wormhole that we enter, you know, because it's a never-ending discussion and it's going to be there forever, you know.
For sure. Well, I know I've held you on here for a pretty good bit, so I believe we've kind of ran through the gamut of questions. I do like to kind of wrap these up with a similar question, and just give me your Mount Rushmore or your top 4 death metal bands and or albums.
Whoa, man, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Very tough one, but I will definitely give you, of course, man, I'm going to start with Entombed because of the story I had with the guys. And Entombed, I tell you, Left Hand Path, for the simple reason that Clandestine didn't have LG singing, you know? Because if Clandestine would have had LG Petrov, I think they would have been like the first and a top-notch death metal album of all times, maybe. But I would go with, it's not in order because I think that these 4 albums probably they are same level. Sometimes you like one more than the other, depends on when and how you're listening to it. But I would go with Entombed, Left Hand Path for sure. Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness, Covenant. My Altars of Madness, I think it's a bit more classic. Although Covenant, I think it's very revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
So as Domination, and also Morbid Angel, I think like the genius geniusness of that band it's like unbelievable, you know. And I really enjoy, of course, man, Crisium. I have to advocate for the Brazilians because they've lift up the level of brutality and technicality in an organic way that I think that people are still studying that. You know, they're playing for 30 years, and I've been in touch with a lot of drummers that are my friends, and they say that they go to workshops and drummers explain a lot of types of blast beats that they say like, yeah, but Max blast beat, it's you can't explain much. Only he can do it like that, you know. And man, and then the next one, dude, I love so much stuff. I listen to so much death metal, you know. Like I love the Aside, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Once Upon the Cross is that kind of album that you listen to the whole album and it feels like, oh man, it's gone. I want to hear it again. And also,
That's my favorite Deicide too.
Yeah, I see. Although the first two Deicide, like number wise, according to what I've read recently, I was reading some stuff about metal albums, and this popped up like their first two albums were the ones that sold the most. But I think that Once Upon the Cross is it's a mark, because I remember I listened to that thing the first time on tape, and that intro with that thing, that guy saying, you know, yeah, I was afraid of that thing when the boom. I remember I was a bit afraid of listening, and it was fun to listen to that because I listened to that to get afraid, you know, to get that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, yeah, but no, there's many more. So the fourth slot, right now I put Once Upon the Cross, but there's many others I would put, you know.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And I think you're one of the very few, which I love Christian. I think you're one of the very few to actually mention them in your top four, which is surprising to me. Christian rules.
Yeah. No, Christian is, man, I think like these guys, especially what they have done, what they achieved, and how they achieved it, coming from Brazil and me being a Brazilian, and I've been on that path that they were before. Then if you can imagine how much they worked on that, how hard they worked, and then you will respect the band even more. You know, and they have some albums that it's like, man, they transcended the genre, you know, because think about it, man, Crisium is too extreme. Even nowadays, it's too much. It's very extreme. And you think that their album, The Great Execution, is so well done that Bill Ward from Black Sabbath commented and said on his radio, like, man, you guys should listen to this. And then it's something that is like, you know, dude, it's like if Paul McCartney says, like, man, I like Vatane. Imagine, it's it's the same thing, man. It's like, fuck. You know, so that's the level of of musicality that they achieved, you know. So I think, like, you know, Crisium with The Great Execution, Works of Carnage, and of course they established themselves for real with Apocalyptic Revelation, and of course their top album that changed the whole game was Conquerors of Armageddon, you know. But I think The Great Execution, Southern Storm, these albums, like their recent albums, like Scourge of the Enthroned, like what the hell is that song, man? It's, you know, so they deserve all the credit, you know.
Absolutely. And I really want them to maybe even re-record Black Forest Domain, like the recent, I guess it's under the moniker of Cavalera, but how like Max and Igor and I'm not even sure who all's on that record, to be honest. I know it's Max and Igor, where they went back and re-recorded a bunch of old tunes. Sounds phenomenal. It just sounds like a time capsule. You know, just the classic album with modern recording and tones. Yeah, I'd love for them to do something like that with some of the really early stuff.
Yeah, and it's really cool with these re-recordings, man, because when they work as fantastically well as the Sepultura and the Cavalera did this now, right? Of course, they re-recorded the first two Sepultura albums, the EP, The Bestial Devastation, and the album, The Morbid Visions. And I loved that album. Man, I'm from Minas Gerais, where Sepultura is from. So for me, they're my heroes. And these albums, for me, they are even more special because they were recorded in Minas Gerais. So that's the level of inspiration that we were getting back then when we were kids, because we were like, man, if they did this here, I can do it too, you know?
Yeah.
There's a way to do this. And that albums, they have the whole charm of the precarious production. But then when you listen to them right now re-recorded, they sound modern in their way and very well done and very aggressive. And man, when I listen to this Cavalier new record, that is the old songs,
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, man, finally, that's how metal should sound. Fuck, man, metaleros back, you know. and then I think it really works to do this kind of thing, because you see that some songs are modern and up to date, and some bands are still struggling to try to sound like that nowadays. And then they did it, so you see how important is the songwriting and how you play as well, you know.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. So I think that if Crisium would re-record this, like Black Force Domain or something, I believe it would be something very interesting coming out of that, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, with our fanboying out of the way, I just want to thank you for taking the time to come on here, man. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Kind of like I mentioned mentioned our last one, I've been a fan since, you know, Entombed AD. You know, copied your HM2 settings for a couple years. So yeah, this was almost a little surreal for me. And
oh, that's great.
And still loving the Loudstakk tone pack for the NAMM plugin. Anybody, there's almost no reason. The NAMM plugin's free. The tone pack is like what, $30, I think.
Yeah.
It's there's no reason not to get it.
No reason, yeah, man. Save 2 beers on the shop and then
yeah, exactly. You know, just buy some PBR or something instead of whatever craft beer you would normally be buying.
Yeah. And buy a bigger pack of PBR so you can have more fun.
There you go. Yeah, great alternative to a lot of the other stuff that costs a lot more out there, and it is just way more unique in my opinion. But
great to hear, man. I'm flattered. Thank you.
Oh, pleasure's all mine. Is there anything you want to plug before we get off here? Anything? But obviously the tone pack.
Yeah, obviously the tone pack and everything. Of course, guys, go there to the website, check it out, listen to the playlist. The sound library there is going to give you like a good idea of what we've been up to with this pack. But you know, follow Rigs of Death Metal, follow me there, and you know, let's exchange some comments, some experience, you know, like follow each other and then connect. So then this whole thing is gonna make sense, you know, because if we connect and exchange, you know, music stuff, so probably we're gonna be up to understand more the pack as well, you know, not only the thing of buying or not, you know, but being part of the whole community thing here.
Absolutely. And I've already had to I've already engaged a little bit with people in the comments on some of the other videos, trying to kind of direct them over to this kind of stuff, and
yeah,
you know, what they can expect getting into it and downloading it and all that fun stuff. But oh yeah, man. What about Dieth? What's next with Dieth?
Man, we just confirmed like some rounds of concerts for this summer. I think the first announced was something with KK's Priest, which is KK's Downing new band, which is super awesome, man. I think we're gonna destroy if we do a whole leg of touring with him. I don't know if that's gonna happen the full tour or just few concerts, but sounds very promising. And yeah, we're currently writing some songs right now. So we have I believe we have half an album ready, and we get some offers to do some things in Latin America. Maybe we're gonna go to the US. We're checking possibilities and working on a new album. So soon we're gonna have some news coming up for sure.
Killer. Well, everybody, make sure you follow Guilherme. Make sure you follow Dieth, all that, so you can stay up to date. Catch them whenever they come anywhere near you. But yeah, man, thank you so much, and appreciate having you on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the opportunity, and speak soon. Have a good one.
Absolutely. See you, man. See you, everybody.
Cheers, man. Bye.